But now for something completely different. Yes, this is not going to be a toy video or a video or a book video or any of those things. This is actually going to be a video about RIAT. Insert I predict a riot gags here. So RIAT stands for Royal International Air Tattoo, and this is, generally speaking, an annual event which is held on an airfield in Fairford in the United Kingdom. And for several months now, my son has been asking that we go to it. So I duly bought tickets for all 3 days. That was my first mistake, a little bit. I shall explain. But first of all, let me introduce a little video just to sort of get you the flavour of what tends to happen at RIAT.
This camera is hopeless in the sun. I'm shooting blind here, by the way. See if that you can. I can see it. And then give me something else to do. Use the camera.
Team leader this year. Well, he was a Tucano display pilot in 2012. 6 and 7 This is big.
個心嘅你有冇？339有啊，上次有。做得唔似係個心嘅來源。又有興嘅乜柒都有，但係無啦啦唔光唔啱光。
There are actually 11 pilots in the red arrows. You have Red 1 through 9 displaying in front of you today. And he also carries F111 J Royal Australian Air Force.
So, as you can see, planes. Lots and lots of planes, generally speaking of a military variety. I'd never been before, so I left it relatively late to book accommodation. This was a strategic error on my part, because had I realised just how big it was, I would have booked a lot earlier. And it is big. I mean, it is, you know, sort of airbase sort of big. So you're talking about tens of thousands of people on site on a given day of the 3 days. So I ended up having to book a hotel in a place called Chippenham. My cunning plan being to go from Chippenham to Swindon by rail, and from Swindon there was a shuttle bus which took you up to Fairford. And all of that worked quite well, had I but realised I needed to print off my bus tickets, because the Google/Apple Wallet functionality from the RIAT site didn't quite deal with that as it should have done. So eventually sorted that out anyway. And what we then discovered was that Friday is a sort of set up, working out the kinks kind of day. So if you can go Saturday, Sunday, those are the main days when things are going to happen. And the program of events could be quite similar. So we saw the Red Arrows about 3 times in a row doing the same stuff. So, you know, you could easily do it in a day. But when I say easily, you've got to bear in mind the size of this thing. You've got to do a lot of footwork to see all the static displays as well as all the actual airshow type displays. So can you do it in a day? Yes. Will you see everything in a day? Probably not so much. But if you've got particular priority things that you want to see, you could probably do that. You know, if you plan well. You have to pay to get in. Souvenir programs and the like are extra. You can also select from a number of different stands and hospitality options that are available. The food on site was hilariously expensive, at least for a northerner. If you're from down south, maybe it was okay. I don't know. I call £20 for 2 hot dogs extortionate, personally. They were quite good hot dogs, but still, you know. So very well organised. The shuttle bus worked absolutely fine once we sorted the tickets out. Easy to get to it, easy to use it. Lots of car parking as well, but I couldn't tell you how easy it was to park in there. I avoided that because I thought the shuttle bus would be the easier option. But generally speaking, you know, I think there were even people camping nearby as well. So, you know, various ways you can get to it. And the whole local area, which I felt a bit guilty about, kind of gets shut down for the benefit of the air show. In terms of what was there, F-18 Hornets, F-4 Phantoms, Tornadoes, Eurofighters, F-35s in the air, a Harrier in the air, which is unusual in this day and age, a Spitfire flying with an F-18 Hornet. You don't see that very often, might not see it again. All sorts of stuff, Chinooks as well, so helicopters also a part of it. Red Arrows, as I mentioned, but also different Hawk teams from different nations as well. Like I think the Saudi Arabians were represented, Turkey as well. So all sorts of fighter jets on display. But what I would encourage you to do basically is probably A, book early, and B, book your accommodation earlier still, so that you can be based either in Swindon or I forget where there was another place you could get a shuttle bus from. Although I don't think it was as popular. I think it was probably, I seem to remember thinking it was going to be more expensive going from there, but it won't come to me now where the other place was. Might be start with a K. Sorry, that slipped my mind. But if the weather is cloudy, then they've got to slightly restrict the displays they can do. So if the cloud cover is low, they've got to do what they call a flat display. So they can't go up as high and be as acrobatic as they would be normally. So I mean, you know, there's no guarantee for that. Enclosures wise, I did arrange because I didn't know what the crack was. So the first day we were just on foot with chairs when we just sat where we could sit, and that was easy. There are places right along the runway where you can just sort of plonk yourself down, but there's tarmac areas as well. Where you could probably still get a decent enough view of the planes that are flying. Lots of covered tents and pavilions if you needed to take shelter. There's stuff for the kids to do, you know, there's sort of tech demonstration areas, that sort of thing. So it's a good range of stuff to keep everybody happy all the time. But if you were limited with your mobility, you would need you know, a mobility scooter or similar to help you get around. I think it's a long way from one end to the other. And we did it a few times on foot, and it's, you know, it does take a bit of doing. Take your own chairs if you don't have any enclosure tickets. There's a sort of grandstand enclosure. I forget how much it was for that. It wasn't overly cheap, but you can book a seat. And that was a nice place to be able to just sort of sit and stop and watch stuff going from slightly elevated height. So that was a good one for picture taking and so on. And obviously I mean, ironically, all of my tech is so old school that I can only really do HD. So we had a sort of a Canon camera, which you'll see some pictures from at the end of this video. So once I finish burbling on here, you can just leave it running and you'll see some more videos and some stills from the Canon camera as well. So all in all, you know, had I done the accommodation a bit more sensibly, and had I been a bit nearer to Swindon, I think it would have been you know, a lot cheaper to do it, but I don't think I needed to do all 3 days. I don't think the Friday was particularly vital. It was nice because it was quieter, and as it happens, that was actually the best weather day that we got. So it was good in that sense, but obviously otherwise it's just an extra day to pay for and more travel and all the rest of it. So, you know, you could easily do it. You could do Saturday, Sunday, absolutely. You know, there'd be more than enough to see to cover a Saturday and Sunday. I'll also mention there is a sort of family enclosure where there's a bit of entertainment for the kids, and there are chairs there, so you wouldn't have to drag your own along. Not so much tentage, but again, people were bringing their own sun tents and things like that to put down. People were being very tolerant of that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's a very sort of friendly environment, lots of staff to help out around and about the place. Really good commentary on the air show as things are happening. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly what I'm sure my son would like to go back to, if all things being equal. But as I say, I wouldn't do it for 3 days again. So without further ado, I will leave you with the remainder of our videos shot with the various combinations of ancient GoPro and mobiles and vaguely up-to-date Sony handheld cameras, but nothing mightily impressive. But I hope that's given you some context if you've never been there before. If you're thinking about going, you know, that might be of assistance, I hope. But just something a little bit different. I wanted to get something out because I normally use this Monday slot for a video, so I just thought I'd do this video instead for a change. Normal things will be resumed shortly. I thank you.
Glad to switch down.
Red 6 off to the left, Red 7 off to the right. Red 7 is squad leader Tom Hansford, second year on the team. He was Red 3 last year. Down the line.
The original Harrier and this Harrier 2 were a more powerful engine, a larger composite wing with additional hard points.
JP considers flying today with a roll demo at the cherry on top of what's been an exciting exchange. The unslung load which JP are carrying today weighs approximately 2 tons. If you're listening closely, you can hear the gearboxes working just that little bit harder as they cater for the extra weight.
Probably not right now, but the A400M is capable of Mach decimal.
Ladies and gentlemen, here comes the Saudi Hawks.
No concerns there whatsoever about the cloud base as he's climbing up to flight level 250